My
Update
stands are
settings
fine.
for YouTube. Okay, so we are zoink. Make that real big over there. All right, say something else again real fast.
Check, check, check,
Yep,
check.
excellent.
Sandwiches are amazing. Pizza is
Sandwiches.
better.
Yes, it is. There's nothing wrong with pizza. That is for sure. Okay. All right, so the YouTube, we've been live for 20 seconds. Let
Okay.
me check.
Oh, we're going live on YouTube. Okay.
Live on YouTube. Don't worry, I don't
Smart.
have the 4 million followers that you do, Mr.
That's okay.
Fancy Pants.
Hey, we are gonna try. I should have said, "Hey, we're live on."
Yeah.
I need to get a way to link it. How do I?
I don't know. Oh, there we go. Yep. Don't worry, I don't have the 4 million followers that you do. All right. Perfect. Okay, so I can hear you there. All right, and yeah, because when we turned out and you're like, oh, I might have to work and blah blah blah, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna post anything. And then Nick texted me, he's not feeling well, so
Ah.
he was like, can we push it back? And I was like, Johnny already switched his work schedule around. So this is going to be like a 2-part episode, I think, this week. One part with you and me, and then another part with me and Nick later on. Who knows?
Nice.
So, yes.
Hey, listen, give me a call. Maybe I can also make that one and really get into his brain.
And yeah, because he remembers everything. He remembers it all. So
he probably has all the tech stuff.
Yeah, he knows it all. He's got it all down pat. So any type of a question he can remember. I have to like Google it and look it up, and he's just like, oh yeah, no, that was in this episode and this time and blah blah blah.
I had to totally go back and watch it. Well, of course, I had to catch up from the last 2 Wednesdays to make sure I'm extremely caught up.
Right.
With the show, and yeah, I'm probably your different Mandalorian fan that than you probably want to talk.
That's all right. No, it's fun this way because, and we were even thinking like for an April Fool's episode that we were gonna try and get people who knew absolutely nothing about Star Wars and things like that. So, yeah,
I got one for you. Yeah, Itty B does.
Itty B, yeah, we can have Itty B on. She'll be great. She'll be like.
I don't even think she's seen. I don't even know if she's seen Star Wars at all.
The originals.
I don't think she. Yeah.
There's a woman that I work with, and she has never seen anything Star Wars at all. And I was
how old is she?
She's in her late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
So
that's why.
Yeah. But like that generation, they had the original like episomes 1, 2, and 3.
Right, Clone Wars, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they also had all the cartoons that
and
came
all the
out,
cartoons, yeah.
Falling after that, and then that was before the Disney merger, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when Lucasfilms and all that was really pushing merch and different stuff too.
Yep.
I got a beverage. I don't know. I didn't have anything to crack because I was trying to get the computer working.
I understand.
So I was like, scrambling. So Eddie B was like, hey, here's some wine. I'm like, I guess I'll look pretentious.
You'll be a fan of drinking your wine. All right.
It's red.
It's a red wine. All right, let's do this. All
right.
I'm gonna
fire up the cannons.
Fire up the cannons. Here we go. Ready? Oops. Darn it. There was something already. Okay, here we go. Oh, and something
intros.
over here. Yeah, doing the little intro thingy. Okay, here we go. On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, Jar Jar Binks returns. And Johnny Jalopy.
Kind of Jar Jar-ish.
Kind of.
Intro music.
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah, Nick updated it.
Yeah.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Roger that.
Roger that. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bantha Milk Podcast. I'm Rob, and that's not Nick. That is, in fact, world-famous Johnny Jalopy sitting over there with us. Hello, Johnny.
What is going on, my Bantha Milk friend?
Yes, it's just another great day. I'm here in New Jersey. You're in a much wonderful place of Florida.
Yes, it is quite beautiful here.
Florida.
Florida. Everybody might hate the state, but boy, right now, California and you guys are like wishing you were here.
Yeah. If it's raining a little bit here, and you're nice and warm and cold here, and you're warm there.
It was a little balmy this morning. I think it got to like 70 70, I think. I had to put on a sweatshirt.
You might have to put on a sweatshirt when it's that cold out there. Yeah, it wasn't actually too bad today. I think it's like 57 right now, so it's not too bad. But anywho,
Jersey's you guys didn't get much snow this season, and so it's pretty mild for you.
Down in South Jersey where I live, we got no snow.
Right.
Like a dusting once.
Dusting.
Yeah, like I actually friend of mine, I coach volleyball, high school boys volleyball, and a friend of mine coaches in North Jersey, up above New York, which when growing up outside of Philadelphia, I didn't even know New Jersey went above New York. I thought it was just this like spot of land between Philadelphia and the beach. I didn't realize there was actually stuff there. But so he was in North Jersey, and 2 weeks ago, maybe around the 13th, 14th, they had so much snow that they canceled school for the day.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, wow. That was the day we got a dusting, and he's like, yeah, he goes, we had 4 to 6 inches. I was like, holy cow, like we didn't have that all winter. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. I got 0 dusting here.
You got 0
Although
dusting.
I will tell you, we probably got 4 to 5 inches of pollen laying in my front yard.
Oh, that's always fun.
We've pretty much been shoveling that stuff out.
Yeah.
I have a gray vehicle that has permanently been green for the last 5 months.
From the pollen just pounding on top of it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
trying
not
to get
fun.
my Boba Fett colors in.
There you go. Some gray, some green.
That's right.
Looks just like Boba Fett. So anyway, we are back with Johnny Jalopy, and he has already cut into his bantha milk.
Sorry.
That's all right. He has he's very fancy also. He has some red wine over
there. It's a red Cabernet.
It's a red Cabernet. Yes.
Yeah. I was gonna drink honey whiskey with some raspberry iced tea, which is a great combo. If you ever get a chance, try that.
Okay. That's probably something Nick would go down because he's a big whiskey guy, so he wouldn't mind it. Yeah.
But I ran out of time.
I understand. Speaking of running out of time, this is my last New England Brewing Company IPA Super Knot beer that I have in my refrigerator. And today I'm not even pouring it into a glass. I'm just cracking it.
Oh, wow.
Boom. And then
nice.
And that's it. Just drinking it right out of the can. I'm going old school.
Go for it. Mm-hmm. That's super. Not.
Look at that. I like what you did there.
See how that worked? That's almost like I've advertised before.
I know, right?
Super not?
Yes. So from New England IPA, New England Brewing Company, Super Not. So I'm drinking some of that. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into all of our social medias. This is, in fact, Johnny Jalopy. Go for it, my man.
Well, I'm Johnny Jalopy, hot rod artist and custom culture dude. I draw hot rods, design hot rods, a little Z-list TV personality guy. Been on Motor Trend a few times and stuff, but big fan of Star Wars, and of course had been holding out when I found out about the Mandalorian coming on. I remember when first time I came on your guys' podcast, I had no idea what to talk about because you guys were all watching the first season, I believe.
I think so. Yes, we started at the first season, so yes.
So you were kind enough to just talk old Star Wars with me, which was cool. But now I've caught up, so I'm ready to talk the talk. I don't know if I can get down to the super detail because it was a few episodes. I think I nodded off.
Well, there was a few episodes worthy of nodding off too. I will say that. So
can I just say not this last episode, but the one before that about the scientist guy?
Right.
Eon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get into the deep.
Let's do it. It is interesting about that. I'm hoping that it goes somewhere. And I asked one of my friends, and he said asking what he thought of that episode was like asking what he thought of bread. Because he's like, it's like handing me a piece of bread and saying, what do I think of this? It's like, I need to compare it to something. What am I doing with this bread?
Right.
And that was like a slice of bread because it's like, okay, what is going to happen next? And we're not really sure.
Or a travel biscuit. Boom. Brought it back to that episode.
There you go. Exactly.
I know what I'm talking about.
I'm impressed. Look at you go. We're going to have you on all the time.
That's the part I was like, really? We're making a big deal out of a biscuit?
Out of-
But anyways, I mean, it was. Listen, I thought the episode itself, the way they're making the show look, uh, the look of the show from front to really amazing. I
yeah,
just listened to an interview with Favreau talking about how they film it and new technologies that they're using and stuff like that to film the show, and it made me a little appreciate what they're trying to accomplish.
yeah. Were,
But I got to
were
say,
you
my
listening to Smartless?
yes,
Yes.
I love that. That's my favorite podcast.
I
One of
love-
my favorite podcasts.
Yes. Well,
It's in my top 3.
we're the poor man's Smartless. We're not nearly as famous, and we don't nearly get the same famous guests on that he do. But
No, you certainly don't. Look, you got me.
I got you. So that's good enough for me. I mean, you're on television.
Hey, listen, I can do a Chevy commercial.
You sure can.
GMC.
GMC. Smart
That guy's
truck.
voice.
Yeah,
I love that dude.
he's pretty funny. So
Anyhow, but that's a great podcast.
they do. Yeah, I was just listening to that, and I was hoping I could steal something good from it, but it was mostly stuff that I knew already from watching all the behind the scenes stuff that they did. But it was cool hearing them talk directly to Favreau. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, I would.
It's interesting how the guy has gone about writing the show, and that's when I was, when I was talking on my our Sketchy Live on Mondays, 9:30 on the Facebook Live and YouTube Live.
There you go.
Come
You're
see a
on
sketch.
YouTube now. Also,
Look
you're
at
very
that. I
sketchy.
just did a promo for myself.
Just
like the guys on their podcast, right?
They sure do all the time. All the time. They're always
cheap.
They're always plugging their own thing, so that's fine.
But yeah, just to listen to the ideas of when he started writing it and putting it all together. I will say, like I said on mine, there's some hints in some other movies.
Yeah,
like the Gunslinger one. I don't know, Josie Wales.
Yeah.
Little Clint Eastwood-ish.
Very Clint Eastwood.
But I guess he's giving a nod to things he likes. So
yeah.
Not to talk crap about it, but I was like, huh. The storyline feels very, very familiar.
Yeah, and it's a lot of, like, I don't want to say stolen storylines, but like storylines that have been repeated 100 times. The gunslingers
maybe
with
a nod to his favorites. I think. Is
Yeah,
what it is. It's the feel of what he was trying to accomplish and to move the story. Because again, it's kind of to create this whole universe on its own, and then try to write and make a whole storyline and create. It's impressive to do it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, to be 3 seasons deep in it.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing too.
It is very amazing. So while you sip away, this is our 95th episode. I wonder which one you were on the first time, but now you're on the 95th episode, which is pretty impressive. It's not like Sketchy Live going on for 5 or 6 years now. You guys are crushing that. Let me tell you.
We just keep piling them on, man, whether anybody's watching or not.
That's right. Hey, that works.
That's what.
What do you think? What do you think we do over here? So yeah, we just keep going no matter what. We have fun doing it. So since we have fun doing it, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, continue, man. I mean, that's what I was just listening to another podcast today, and that was it was another one of my favorite ones, which is Fly on the Wall. I don't know if you listened to that one.
With David Spade. Yeah.
So they had Adam Sandberg on today, and he was talking about how in the beginning, with the Lonely Island guys, and they basically almost like started YouTube.
Yeah.
They just kept going and kept going and kept going, and the same thing with this Fly on the Wall thing. They were like, we just kept doing it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And then eventually people started listening. So
people started listening. Yeah. Most definitely.
So keep doing what you're doing. I mean, it's a niche subject matter, and there's a lot of Star Wars fans that I'm sure gathering cool information. And I've watched your comments and stuff. There are people chiming in, so that's a good thing.
Yes, thank you very much.
I think I'm one of them. I've chimed in a few times.
You did chime in a few times, which is awesome. It's like, I chime in on your show, and then you get Ian Roussel on, and then you chime in on my show, and I'm like, hey, I got Johnny Jalopy on my show. So it's pretty cool. So it's pretty cool.
It's the triangle.
It's the triangle. All right, so all our social medias, Instagram, Bantha Milk, Facebook, Bantha Milk Podcast. We're on Twitter, kind of. We're on what else are we on? We got the Sacred Jedi Text Facebook group as well, so definitely check that out. That one's fun. It's mostly people posting memes and stuff like that, and they're all like ridiculous Star Wars memes, so it's really funny.
Poking fun at it, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Poking fun at different things and just all these ridiculous. Any Star Wars meme that you can find has probably been posted to Sacred Jedi Text as well. Check us out on all those. I have a TikTok account, Bantha Milk Podcast TikTok account, which has gone viral in the
What?
town that I work in. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
We posted
and in China.
and in
according
China,
to-
yeah. We posted. We posted
Whoa,
one.
brought politics into it.
Why not?
Sorry.
This is Star Wars is bringing politics into Star Wars, so go right
That's
ahead.
true.
The I don't know if you watched the Andor season, also the season of Andor, which was the movie where they got the plans for the Death Star that they then at the very end of that handed off to Princess Leia, which starts episode 4, the movie episode 4. Andor, amazing season, completely different from any other Star Wars type thing. You almost, in some of the episodes, forget that it's Star Wars based. It's just like a good, gritty war movie series type thing. So they went into a lot of politics in that, and it's interesting how Star Wars politics mimic and parallel politics of Earth. So
who's the writer on that movie or series?
It was. Let me.
Oh, look at me!
I know you're asking me questions.
Throwing out the questions.
I'm gonna have
in
this episode. Rob stumbles through answers.
And Johnny puts Rob on the spot.
Johnny puts Rob on the spot.
Rob, because Johnny has no idea. Why are we talking to the third
person? I don't know. We're talking about ourselves all in the third person.
Wow.
Director Tony Gilroy created it and wrote it.
Okay.
And then
Tony G.
Yeah, and
pretty familiar with his work.
George Lucas, of course, gets credit for everything. I think that was in his.
They got to go through the gates.
Yeah. So Tony Gilroy, he wrote a whole bunch of stuff. He also wrote Rogue One, which was the movie that led into and Nightcrawler, Duplicity, Beirut, The Great ... The Great Wall. So he's a really good writer. He wrote a lot of really cool stuff, and the whole Andor series. It's interesting. I've talked to Nick about this numerous times about the different Star Wars series and the different people that are into them and not into them. Because Andor was leading up to the movie that people were like, whatever.
Right.
They weren't really into the series, but the series was amazing. And the same thing happened with like Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan series. Everybody who was an old head was like, I have to watch the Obi-Wan series because I love Obi-Wan. And it was good, don't get me wrong. I liked it. I didn't not like it. But I felt like it got a lot of views early on because of it was an Obi-Wan series. And then as it continued on, some of the people were like, whatever, and they like faded away. And I feel like Mandalorian is the flagship series now for Star Wars. Like, this is the one. Even our show alone, when we do run breakdowns of Andor and other things, our viewership goes down. When we break down Mandalorian like we're doing tonight, we have way more viewers and listeners than we do for the other shows.
Yeah, so, the like you just mentioned those, they've obviously been up and available, and they just haven't had the thing to make me go, maybe I really want to go check that out.
Right.
Although the book of Boba Fett, I'm kind of curious about that because I've always been fascinated by that character because he's in all the major ones that are my generation. 5 and 6. But you don't really. And what was interesting to me, and I didn't realize this, I was on again searching through some stuff, and I'm sure this is old news to you and your listeners, that it was like Boba Fett was they never even said his name. Yeah. They never. And I was like, I guess I learned it from the toys. Is where I learned it from. That was the character Boba Fett. Yes, and he only had like 6 lines in the movies. Right. But it was just like the way they introduced him as the greatest bounty hunter of all time. Right. You were like, who is this guy? I need to know more about him. Yeah. Yeah. And he was really, out of all that, what was kind of cool, again, going now that I know, with the tie-in with the Mandalorian, is the suits themselves, his armor was so different than the stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. It was a little bit of stormtroopery, but it wasn't. Yep. And you were like, okay, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? Yeah. Where does he fall? And now that we know, he kind of played the in between, right? Where he was just like, listen, I'm on my own. Mm-hmm. I do what I do. And early
early on, he was scheduled to have a movie. They were supposed to have a Boba Fett movie, and I keep getting all these pop-ups on my computer. These notifications on my computer. I don't even know how to turn them off, and I've tried 1,000 times, but. Yeah. Oh, so it's so annoying. But
Uber Eats 50% off.
First delivery 50% off. But yeah, so they had penciled in for years that there was going to be a Boba Fett movie, and because of that, they didn't know how to actually make the movie because he wasn't a good guy, but he wasn't a bad guy.
Right.
But you need a good guy to lead the movie. So then, when they came out with the Deadpool movie, where Deadpool is not a good guy or a bad guy,
right?
They wanted to see how well that went to decide if they could do the same thing with a Star Wars character that was neither good nor bad, but just a BA, just a really awesome character. So then when Deadpool was a hit, they were like, oh, we got to do it. Then it went through so many different writers and stuff like that they finally shelved it, and then that's when they came out with the Mandalorian series instead, which was what everybody wanted Boba Fett to be. It was like, yes, this is it. This is our Boba Fett character, know?
Exactly.
And then when they had the Boba Fett series, unfortunately, they made him more of like dad bod Boba Fett and not nearly as exciting as the Mandalorian.
Right.
And there was an episode in Boba Fett with the Mandalorian, with Din Djarin and Grogu and all this stuff.
Right.
And Jon Favreau, to this day, still says that it was one of the biggest mistakes that he made. He had this big reveal for Boba Fett and Grogu for Mandalorian and Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett. And so now anybody that didn't watch it, they come back in season 3, suddenly Mando and Grogu are back together again, and you're like, wait, at the end of season 2, he left with Luke. What happened?
Right.
And it's all these people who didn't watch Boba Fett. They're like, what's going on? So Favreau says that was a big mistake. But I think he was trying to really tie in Boba Fett to the Mandalorian. And unfortunately, it wound up being a major, because...
Yeah, the whole portion before when the Mandalorian found Boba Fett's equipment, his armor, I was like, oh, man. I got super excited. Like, okay, we're going to see really who Boba Fett is.
Yeah.
And then it led up to it. And like you said, it was kind of like, oh, well, this is not. Why is the Mandalorian way more badass than
Boba Fett is? Yeah.
Boba Fett's supposed to be the baddest dude of all of them.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, I was really kind of hoping in some way. I forget the name of the character that the actor that played the guy that was wearing the
Timothy Olyphant. Yeah,
love that guy.
Yeah,
he's a great character actor. And I was like, man, that'd be cool if he ends up like, well, this is what happened, and I am it.
Yeah,
the guy. No offense to the actor that ended up being Boba Fett. I was like you said,
yeah,
it was kind of a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, and like when he first met him, he definitely had that dad bod going to him because I don't think he was expecting to be cast back into the role of Boba Fett.
Right.
And then when they broke away and they did the own series, he did get himself in a little bit better shape for the series, and he looked more like the old Boba Fett. But they also made it where he's now older, so
yeah,
he wasn't as intimidating. He was getting his butt kicked in all the episodes, and it was actually his partner, Fennec Shan, who she was the one that was saving the day every day.
Well, I listen, I have a whole opinion on where a lot of that stuff's going in many things, not just movies, but yeah, it's probably not in a good place for your podcast for your listeners to get out of that.
They'd be like, oh my goodness. But yeah, I have a feeling I know where you're going.
Johnny Jalopy, guys. What is he saying?
What is he saying? Yeah.
But listen, there's a lot of very heavy, even in The Mandalorian, there's a lot of very heavy female-driven characters that are pushing the storyline along, which is great.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. But yeah, the Mando he's a bad dude.
He is a bad dude.
Well, until he lifted his mask, his helmet up, and I went, oh. Okay. Well, I mean,
yeah.
But put the helmet back on. Let me just hear the voice. That's all I want to hear. I don't need to see your face.
That is true. That is, yeah. It's like, no, I like I like the new rules where you can't take your helmet off. That's fine.
Hey,
And-
listen, did you see him on Saturday Night Live?
Yes,
I did great.
he did awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I like the guy.
Yeah, and he
and
was
I
really
definitely-
good. He was really good in The Last of Us. Did you watch The Last of Us?
I did not get. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some other things he's done. But,
Yeah, so
maybe
Last of
I
Us-
did see him.
He's been in a bunch of other things, but The Last of Us just came out on HBO. I don't know if you have HBO or not.
I'll have to check it out and see for sure.
Yeah,
But,
it was based
I
off
mean-
of the game, the video game, The Last of Us, where it's like a post-apocalyptic time. But he was the star of it, and it was really good. He was really good in that, and that show was really good also.
yeah, I'll have to check it out for sure. But yeah, I thought like the way that his actions and his movement, without seeing his face,
Yeah,
just his acting and I mean to pull that off, to really
Right.
sell lines and emotions and different stuff while wearing a giant metal costume.
yep, yeah,
Is not an easy thing to do.
No.
I mean, look at our guys who played Darth Vader, the original helmeted
yeah.
evil. That was not an easy thing but he pulled that off. So this was really cool to see that same kind of thing where you're like, oh, okay, totally, I'm in.
And he does such a good job of, like you said, showing the emotion without being able to see his face, because your face
Yeah.
is so expressive, and when it's
Yeah, right.
hidden behind it, like the fact that you're still able to see that he cares about Grogu and
Right.
and all the emotion that goes with it, and anger and his love and all that stuff, and you're like, wow, he's doing a really good job that he can portray all that without even being able to see his face.
And at least he runs like a hero.
Here we go. This was
He
Johnny's
runs
big
like
thing.
a guy who's got some athletic
Yeah.
prowess. It's believable. That
It's
he's
believable,
A bad dude
yeah.
when he's running. I can't say that for everybody that's been on the
No,
in the
they're
show.
in season 1, episode 6, maybe some.
I want to say was it the Prisoners? Is that what it was?
I think that might have been called The Prisoners. It was some sharpshooter guy. I don't know.
Yeah, with a little arm that
A
came
little
out.
extra
That-
arm with a
what
third
is
gun.
That all about?
Yeah,
But
it wasn't.
anyway, listen, I love one of my most favorite comedians is Bill Burr. I love his podcast. I love his comedy. I love watching him do all kinds of different. I loved him in was it King of New York or whatever it was with Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson, yeah.
I thought he was great. And that there's nothing that he's done that I haven't really liked.
Except for his running.
I just saw listen the way because he runs with his feet all sticking out this way, and I was like, dude, why didn't somebody go? Okay, we're gonna shoot him from the knees up.
Knees up.
Let's go knees up on Burr.
Don't
Knees
show his
up on
feet.
Burr. We don't need to see his feet.
We don't need to see his feet. We don't need to see his feet. Please, no feet.
So again, your listeners, go back, watch that season 1, episode 6, right? I believe.
Watch Bill Burr run, and you'll get an extra laugh
It
out
is
of it.
hilarious. Listen, I'm an out of shape dude, and I probably don't run that great either. But Bill was running like he was 900 pounds, and he's a pretty fit dude.
And he's not at all. Yeah. Did you see? We talked about it when that episode aired. But did you see he had a stand up where he talked about how much he hated Star Wars, and how
maybe I missed it.
and he never watched Star Wars. He didn't get it. All this stuff, and he went on this long tirade. This is way before he was on the show.
Oh sure, yeah.
He
Early
went on
Bill Burr.
Yeah,
with
hair.
probably.
Yeah, he went on this tirade about how, he doesn't understand Star Wars and blah, blah, blah. And then like 10, 15 years later, whenever it was, I don't know, now he's on Star Wars. And he's like, well, it's not that bad. And I'm like, yeah, because they're
Right.
paying you now. It's not that bad type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nothing will change your opinion of a movie or a franchise like them paying you some good money.
That's
'Cause
right.
I'm sure Bill Burr was not cheap.
No, not at all. Like to get Bill Burr, you're paying extra money for that. So, yeah. All right. Well, before we
Yeah,
continue, I want to I'm gonna hit us with some news, and then we'll get into the rest of your breakdown of all 3 seasons, because you just binged it all recently, and going all the way into this episode. Because you haven't been to work in a week because you've been watching nothing but Mandalorian. So
Hey, hit us with the news.
here it is.
Star Wars news.
So the first one we're
Love
going to talk about. We got jingles, buddy. We're going to talk about it a little bit when we get to that scene in the episode as well. But do you remember Jar Jar Binks?
Oh yeah.
So Jar
That
Jar.
that ruined that movie for me. That dude.
So Jar Jar Binks, super hated. The guy who played Jar Jar Binks, his
Oh, no.
name is. Wait, hold on. I need to find it because
Forgotten.
Forgotten.
Forever.
Well, this is what's great about it is. Oh, come on. Oh, I went too far. Darn it. Where are we going? Armor.
That's what happens when
Oh,
your
here we go.
laptop is.
I know, right? The guy's name is Ahmed Best. He was the guy that
Okay.
played Jar Jar Binks. After the movie came out, people hated Jar Jar Binks so much that they were sending him death threats. The guy who played it, just because he was a guy in a costume, and one of the YouTube shows that I watched, he said he played a frogman in a space, space pirate movie or something like that, and the guy's getting death threats. So much so that he actually went into depression, and he had to go to therapy and stuff because so many people were hating on him. Well, they brought him back, and he was actually the Jedi in this episode that saved Grogu. So the guy who breaks Grogu out when Grogu has his flashback, that was the guy Ahmed Best who played Jar Jar Binks.
So the dude on the cycle.
Yeah, Kelleran Beck was the Jedi name.
Okay.
He was also on a Star Wars TV show that was on YouTube called Jedi Temple Challenge, Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge, which was pretty funny. It was kind of like a Star Wars version of Temple Run. I think it was called Temple Run. It was like a Nickelodeon show where kids had to go into this like a Indiana Jones type thing, but it was like a game show type thing.
So it was Star Wars themed.
This one that he was on was a Star Wars themed one.
Okay.
So he was the host of it as a Jedi, and he was the host of it as a Jedi with the name Kelleran Beck. So he was on that, and it looked like really good quality for a YouTube show, like for a show specifically made for YouTube. Gotcha. So he was Kelleran Beck on there. They made him the guy to save Grogu from the 501st Legion, who was coming to kill all the Jedis after Order 66 happened in Episode 3. So it was really, really cool that they did that. They gave a good, the actor gave him a good arc of his own now because so many people hated Jar Jar Binks. And don't get me wrong, I thought Jar Jar Binks was a horrible character also, but I wasn't writing death threats to the actor who portrayed him. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I just was annoyed during the movie and didn't watch it again because of that part, which is sad.
And the fact that Jar Jar Binks basically ruined Star Wars as a whole because he got brainwashed by Palpatine into changing all the things because Princess Amidala was very busy. So he's like, hey, Jar Jar, you have the same authority. Why don't you change the rules? And he goes, oh, Misa changed the rules. And then there we go. They changed it. And that led to all of the dismay that is what happened in Star Wars. So Jar Jar ruined the Galactic Senate.
As much as I don't like Jar Jar Binks, I can't lay the whole badness of that movie on that dude. There's a whole lot of bad.
There's a whole lot of bad. Okay, fine.
I'm not super happy with like the robot choices and shit choices and I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, Jar Jar was pretty annoying, but we could go down a pretty good list of other things that ruined
Star Wars. Yeah, for sure. So so that's it. So Jar Jar Binks,
for him.
Yeah, so good for him. He gets his redemption arc in this episode, which was awesome.
Great.
I'm very happy for him. And I'm also happy like the fans are happy for him too. They're not like now sending him death threats also because now he saved baby Grogu. So there. Jon Favreau was just interviewed recently by Entertainment Weekly, and they asked him how many seasons are you planning on doing Mandalorian for, and he said basically as many as I want to. And then Entertainment Weekly said, good, we're looking forward to at least 10 seasons of The Mandalorian. Now, I love The Mandalorian. I think
Yeah.
it's the greatest show that Disney Plus has going right now.
For sure.
I don't know if 10 seasons, I don't know what they can do. It'll be pretty boring if it's just rinse and repeat for 10 straight seasons. Like, you're going to have to come up with something new. And the fact that Grogu is 50 and still a baby, in 10 years, he's going to be 60. And what will he be then? Like, the equivalent to a toddler at that point? Like, it can only go so far. So it'll be interesting to see how far it does go, but at least it'll give this podcast something to do for the next as many years as
Hey, that'll cut you in for 10 more seasons.
10 more seasons. That's right. So that's pretty exciting for
so
us.
You can only hope Favreau follows through and does that.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to have to do the Bantha Milk now follows some other show.
Some other show, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever the next great show is, yeah. So
I'm sure they'll be redoing another.
They'll definitely redo something else. Disneyland is bringing back a popular ride for a limited time. Disneyland is coming for the whole month of May, because May the 4th is Star Wars Day. But for the entire month of May, they're having a Star Wars month in Disneyland. They're having a whole bunch of different things. And one of the things that they're bringing back, they're doing a bunch of nighttime activities and stuff like that and whatever. But they're bringing back Hyperspace Mountain, which was their Space Mountain, but then they did an overlay on it, which was turning it into Star Wars, so they called it Hyperspace Mountain. So right now, Disneyland, which is out in California, so we don't have to worry about that, a limited time experience beginning May 1st. Space Mountain is expected to reopen June 5th. So they closed Space Mountain for like 2 months to reface it and make it look like Star Wars from the whole month of May, and then and when May's over, then they will close it again to get all that stuff off, and then hopefully it'll be reopened as regular Space Mountain by June 5th. The Star Wars theme overlay will feature scenes of X-Wings, Starfighters, and the Millennium Falcon flashing on the interior walls of Space Mountain to replicate the illusion of space travel on the ride. According to the Orange County Register, the Star Wars theme Hyperspace Mountain was first introduced during Disneyland Season of the Force in 2015. So, if you're a big Space Mountain person as opposed to, or Hyperspace Mountain as opposed to Space Mountain, it'll be back. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, nothing's better than riding the same ride and then having a revamp.
Yes, exactly. Riding the same ride and then seeing an X-Wing fighter go by. Whoo, so much.
I mean, listen, it's a great ride for Disney. I mean, it's in your top 5 rides you got to ride when you go to Disney or Disney World.
Yeah.
Space Mountain. I'm actually surprised that they haven't just decided to leave it themed Star Wars in some way, because it seems like it would boost rides. I mean, I guess they're living on the legacy of it is what it is, but I don't think anybody's necessarily riding it because it's called Space Mountain. Revamping it and making it something Star Wars. I'm surprised they haven't.
Yeah.
Being that that's a part of their, their branding now. Why wouldn't you just?
Well, I think
that's an easy transition.
It would be an easy transition. I think the biggest problem with that is they have that whole Star Wars land, Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, too far away, probably.
It's too far away. And then they also have Star Tours,
right?
Which was that ride.
Yeah.
That's not in Galaxy's Edge. So now you have Galaxy's Edge. Then you have Star Tours over here. And then if they leave Space Mountain as Hyperspace Mountain, then they have Hyperspace Mountain over here. Before you know it, all of Disneyland is just Star Wars. And I think they're trying to avoid the entire thing becoming Star Wars.
Right, because they would make too much money, and that would be a bad thing.
That would be a bad thing, yeah.
Because every Star Wars fan would stop going because if it was all Star Wars.
Right, then why
I'm sure Galaxy's Edge has really been a horrible disappointment, and entries are down, and there's not a lot of people going.
People don't like the rides in there.
Hasn't done that.
Yeah, it hasn't done any of that stuff. No. So
I mean, I'm not a super smart marketing person, but I would think.
But if Star Wars is a big hit as it is, maybe make a little bit more Star Wars. Who knows?
I mean, what it is Tomorrowland, right? So
it's in Tomorrowland, yeah.
So what is the biggest tomorrow that Disney has acquired? Star
Right.
Wars. That is the tomorrow.
Except it happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So
But it's
Tomorrowland will be
here,
past land.
right? But it's here in. I think it's what is the? Wow, it's been. I used to live in California. I'm totally forgetting Buena Park. Where the hell is it? Anaheim.
Anaheim.
No.
Yeah, it's in
Yes.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
So,
And also in Florida. And did you hear they may be opening in Texas?
so I know that they've fluttered rumors out there of
Mhm.
opening a third
I don't know if they can
park
do it.
somewhere. I don't think they're going to do it. It would be smart for Disney to do that. Both parks right now are so packed that if you open a third park, it may spread the crowds out a little bit over
Yeah.
3 different parks instead of just 2. So, and I think Texas is pretty big. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there's probably somebody who has a 500-acre cattle farm that they'd be willing to sell to Disney World.
Have you ever driven through Texas? There's plenty of room. to
There's
build it.
plenty of room.
They could build 17 Disney Worlds there.
Yes.
It would be not a problem.
And nobody would even know if you drive 2 miles away, you wouldn't even know that it was there.
Hey, what are these all Star Wars and guys doing? Get your helmets and your damn lasers and get the hell out of here. They are into guns in Texas.
They are. They have their laser guns. You got your laser gun over here. I got
them
my
laser
shotgun.
pistols. They got that Luke. We like them guys named Luke.
Luke's got all them guns that we like.
Hey, listen, I got a couple dudes that work for me named Chewy. Name's back there and they's doing all kinds of stuff. I stole that from. That's a stolen joke. I apologize.
It's a good stolen joke. I'll give you credit for it. All right, so
it was a borderline racist, but I will. You can do in the don't be mad. Johnny is Mexican,
so Johnny's allowed to say it, so it's okay. I'm not allowed to, but you can say it all you want.
Can.
Right? Thank you.
Not when I'm around. Anyway,
Disney shows off their real lightsaber. Did you see this? Any of these videos or anything like that?
Mm-mm.
So at
I mean, I've heard fear. I mean, my son who's in his 20s got one of those sick custom lightsabers that were like so real. They make the noise and everything. I was like, that is the most real, close to the real thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I have heard that they possibly have kind of the technology to do.
So this one up here on the wall behind me, I made that at in Disney World last year. Nice. There's this place called Savi's Workshop in Hollywood Studios, and it's a really neat experience. You go in, and they don't just give you the parts and say build it. It's a whole thing, and they're talking about the lore and this and that and blah blah blah, and you're really feeling excited. And then you build the whole hilt, and then you put it into this thing, and then you pull it out, and the blade comes out, and it's lit up already, and you're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and it's a really really cool experience. So what they've come up with now, and I don't want to say this is a recap, but because they showed it before, and I'm pretty sure this real lightsaber, they use it in the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser, which is the hotel in Disney World. Right. That
the
is
new
it.
one they just opened up, right?
Yeah, that's 2 nights, and a family of 4 is $5,000 for 2 nights to go through this. So, I know, Johnny,
I can only imagine.
You've been there 6 times already.
Well, look at
with your wine, of course. I mean, look how fancy you are.
Of course we do. We go there every night.
So, but while you're there, I think it's Rey is up above you, and she pulls out her lightsaber. She hits her button, and the blade pops out, and it looks real. It's really, really cool. And then she does a real light swipe, puts it down, and then grabs another one, which looks exactly like the first one, but this one has the hard blade like this. So then she can really like swing it around and really make it cool. So when they debuted it a while back, it was basically like, you remember the slap bracelets?
Yeah.
So when the metal is bent in the one direction, the slap bracelet is straight. And then when you put it on your wrist, or if you just snap it on your finger, it rolls all the way up. So this real lightsaber has basically two of those that open up to make the blade look like it's real, but it's really still very fragile. So at this past couple weeks, a week ago or whatever it was, at SXSW by Disney Park Experiences, I don't even know what Star Wars film. I don't know what it stands for, but anyway, somebody who's a much bigger Star Wars fan than me knows what SXSW stands for. But he shows off this real lightsaber. So he pulls it out and he pushes the button and the blade comes up. And it looks neat. Don't get me wrong. But then, of course, I don't know if you know this or not, but Star Wars fans are haters. And so, of course, like the comments then after it's on Twitter and Instagram and everything like that, people are like, okay, the hilt is way too big and the blade is way too short. Like, that's not a real lightsaber. That's garbage.
Clearly, Adam Savage did not work on the
right.
He
did not make that one. So everybody's like hating on it, like blah blah blah, whatever. But it is neat that the technology is cool and it's coming around, but it's not going to come out and be hard and solid. Like if you were to try and swing it around, those two little slap bracelets would just buckle and just go back in or whatever. So it is neat. It's neat that they have it. They did a couple other things with some robots as well. There was a robot like Judy Hopps from the animal. It was an animal cartoon. I forget the name of it. But all the animals were like humans, and she was a rabbit. So they had this rabbit robot, which was small, and it was really, really neat. So they demonstrated a whole bunch of neat things. So the real-life Star Wars lightsabers is pretty neat. Whether people probably won't be able to buy it, I have a feeling it's going to just be something in a show somewhere. But whatever. So that's that.
Yeah, it'll be the hot prop.
Yeah, exactly.
For whatever they're doing, yeah.
And then one last thing. Have you ever heard of ChatGPT, Johnny? Okay,
no,
so ChatGPT is this new AI software, which is crazy. You can type things into it, and kids are typing in, write a term paper for me about Star Wars, whatever, and then it just starts creating a term paper for you right in front of your face.
Have.
Okay.
I have heard of this where there's actually folks that have they're doing songs, poems, all kinds. They just pick a subject and go, want a country song with the feel of this, sounds like Willie Nelson would write it, blah blah blah, and it just goes bloop.
Yep, and it just produces
collects
it for
all
you.
the information and boom.
Yep. So Nick wrote in to one of the ChatGPT softwares, and he just said, "Tell me about Bantha Milk Podcast."
Yes, let's hear it.
So this is what it says. Bantha Milk Podcast is a podcast dedicated to discussing all things Star Wars. The podcast is hosted by 3 Star Wars fans who share their opinions, theories, and analysis of the franchise. The hosts, Rebecca, Jerry, and Mike, have a fun and conversational approach to their discussions, which cover a wide range of Star Wars topics from the movies and TV shows to the books and comics. They also frequently have guests on the show, including authors, artists, and prominent figures in the Star Wars community. That's you. In addition to their regular episodes, the Bantha Milk Podcast also releases bonus content such as interviews and special episodes focused on specific topics or characters. The podcast has generated a dedicated following, and its hosts are known for their enthusiasm and knowledge of the Star Wars universe. Whether you're a lifelong fan or a newcomer to the franchise, the Bantha Milk Podcast is a great source of Star Wars content and discussion. So all this was great, except for I have no idea who Rebecca, Jerry, and Mike are. So
hey, listen, I think you need to just edit.
Yeah. So that's
the rest of it was pretty sick.
The rest of it was sick. So that's what Nick did. Nick goes, you got the show host incorrect. So then it writes back, I apologize for the mistake in my previous response. The hosts of Bantha Milk Podcast are not Jerry, Mike, and Rebecca. The current hosts of the Bantha Milk Podcast are Nick, Josh, and Mike. They are all fans of Star Wars franchise, bringing their unique perspective and insights to the show. So then he writes back, the host. Once again, I'm getting shafted every single time.
Totally.
It says the hosts are Nick and Rob. So then it says, I apologize for the mistake in my previous response. The hosts of Bantha Milk Podcast are Nick and Robin.
Oh.
Nick is a huge Star Wars fan who has been hosting the podcast since 2007. Robin is also a passionate Star Wars fan who joined the show as a regular co-host in 2021. 3 times. And he even tells him it's Rob, and ChatGPT just doesn't like me.
Listen, where are those people they named right now?
I know. Where are they?
Because you're here.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it. You're the one,
I'm doing
hit
it.
the live.
That's right.
Sent the links.
I did it all.
You know,
I did it all. Now I'm not getting any credit for it at all.
I'm almost be curious who hosts Sketchy Live with Johnny Jalopy and Eddie B. The host is.
What's the one person that you always say their name very funny?
Which one? Shaggy LeBlanc.
Shaggy LeBlanc. Yeah, Shaggy LeBlanc is going to be the host of
so
it.
Funny. I really thought Shaggy LeBlanc would be like French looking,
okay,
or he'd be very but if you see him,
not
Shaggy is right. But he's a great dude. He's one of the greatest.
Yeah, he seems like a great dude. He's always in the chat, always saying nice things all the time.
We got some heavy fans, which have been our ride or dies for sure.
Yeah, that is awesome. So real fast, before we get back into Johnny recaps the entire 3 seasons of The Mandalorian.
I don't know if we can do that.
That's fine. And then we go over this episode. We're going to take a quick commercial break, or not. We're not really sure. Most of the time, there's never a commercial here. So, all right, let's hit a commercial, and then we'll be right back.
GMC.
There was a commercial from GMC in there. That's awesome.
Professional grade
GMC. All right.
Eventually, we're going to be all electric, and we're not going to do petrol anymore. Aren't you bummed? Think about all the stuff you can stick in the front trunk.
That's right. You have a
That's
back trunk
name by
and
the
a front trunk.
That's a pretty good stripper name.
That is a good
Front
stripper
trunk.
name, Front Trunk.
Front
And
dude,
now
right?
to the stage is Front Trunk. Bow chicka bow wow. All right.
Next on The Mandalorian, Front Trunk.
Front Trunk on The Mandalorian. So, all right, Johnny, so you recently binged all of The Mandalorian. So tell us.
Yeah, heavy binge, man.
Heavy binge. Tell us what you thought.
Again, visually, I thought The Mandalorian is visually a phenomenal series. I really love all the detail that was taken into the different planets, the different vehicles, of course. Those are the things I'm the most love the most is the different vehicles.
Sure.
And the costuming, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that those were great. I think they did a phenomenal job. Where it felt a lot more real. It didn't feel so CGI full, even though you're like, I'm sure there's something going on. And then again, to hear like you know, behind the scenes on how it all happened, I'm like, oh, wow, that's really amazing because it really made it feel more real.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, storyline, there's some great episodes where I was like on the edge of my seat. There were other ones, especially in the first 2 seasons, where I was on my seat. There was a few that I was a little bit of like, okay, I'm hanging in because I'm hoping that this is going to take us.
Yeah. There's
something that's going to attach to something that's going to take us to another place. So that was a little challenging sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where I ended up taking naps and went, oh God, did I miss 3 episodes already?
Yeah. And it is funny because they're some of the episodes were like, okay, like it was supposed to be like a horror movie episode, the one where he's transporting the frog lady and the spiders and everything like that. It was like, okay, and Nick and I talked about those episodes when they were coming up, like in a cartoon like the Clone Wars, where there was 25, 35 episodes a season. You can have a couple of those clunkers in there. You can have a couple of those that really don't move the story along or don't do anything really big for the story. Right. And don't tell much of a story, that's fine. But when your series is 8 episodes long And from season 2 to season 3, there was like 805 days in between season 2 and season 3. When you only have 8 episodes and then you're off for a year and a half or 2 years, you're like, okay, we wasted a whole week on spiders. And in season 2, there was one that was like, whatever. And even like last week's episode with Dr. Pershing's, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
hopefully this goes somewhere. If this doesn't
Yeah.
go anywhere, like, what was the point of that? And that episode was a long episode, too. And it was visually amazing looking.
Yes, and again, it almost felt like the focus of the episode was like, look how amazing we can make this city look.
Yeah.
Because they end up using it again in this last episode on Wednesday.
Yep.
They revisited that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't wasted. Whatever technology they did with the screens,
right.
and all that kind of stuff. So,
Designing the scene and the
set
layout,
itself
the
was
set.
not
Yeah.
wasted.
Yeah.
So they did utilize it 2 episodes.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, at first I was like, okay, I get it. We're kind of going. It's tying in with when we were back, when he was on the ship and he was with the bad guys, and okay, he's tying in now. He's working for the good guys, but again, it was, and even where they go, it was cool to watch him head into one of the big starships and
Right.
The Star Destroyers and go through that. I really wish, I don't know, it was cool to see it, in the scale and how.
Yeah,
They
as it
looked
being
in
docked there.
comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of
Once
like
they got inside, it was a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there's this whole, but anyway.
Yeah.
It was like too easy, like suddenly two moves and they're in the lab.
Right. Yeah, and then like they got out real quick and really easily as well.
Yeah.
Like the lab is right by the entrance to the Star Destroyer. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And there are some funky costumes that have been in Star Wars. Like there's costuming where you go, nobody really tried on this one. And I got to say, the cops' uniforms, the blue they chose.
Right. And the helmets, yeah, it was
Nah,
very, yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is the only color fabric we have. All right, we'll use it.
Oh, the only thing I can say is maybe they were like, listen, we want to make sure all costuming does not make the Mando's
Right.
his costume look
Yeah, yeah.
it looks like it's the best one.
Yeah.
Because it really does. Every time his costume is on screen, even with the rest of the Mandalorian on the planet, his always just looks the baddest.
Yes.
Where you're like, that's the coolest costume. And again, you as a fan, you go back to it and you go, man, I always thought Boba Fett's was with the coloring, and there's a couple guys that are kind of rocking that same greenish, purplish.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks way better.
Way better. Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because as you were talking on Sketchy Live this week, you were like, now I know what Beskar is. I never knew what they were talking about with their old title.
I feel so bad that we were like, listen, the podcast name was way too long.
It was way too long.
Now it totally makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, why wouldn't? Yes. So yeah, the Beskar is just, and that's really good. And again, how they move the story along to explain exactly what it is, what it does,
so
why it's the most powerful metal.
So it was really funny when we were coming up with like the show name.
I feel bad.
It's all right. When we were coming up with the show name, I was like on Wikipedia, the Star Wars version of Wikipedia, and I was like just going down this Mandalorian rabbit hole before the show started because I was like, oh, we got to find something that relates to Mandalore tied in, right? And we're like, oh, and then I read about the armor is called Beskar, and I'm like, okay, let's start with Beskar. So then we're like, Beskar, Bruise, and something, and we're like, okay, and then we're like babbling and Beskar and whatever. So we kept going back to it, and that's when we came up with Bantha Milk, Beskar. What was it? Beskar, Bantha Milk, and I don't even remember.
What you had told us, it was the Bantha Milk Beskar. It was the Bantha Milk Beskar podcast.
Yeah, and there was another word in there also.
There was babbling before that. It was the babbling Bantha Milk Beskar podcast.
Yeah, and everybody was like, "Wow, that's a lot." So then we finally were like, "Okay, fine, we'll just be Bantha Milk then." Because Bantha Milk was more widely known at the time because of Luke Skywalker and everything. So we were like, okay. But I was really proud of myself. I found this Beskar thing, and then in the very first episode, they're talking about Beskar over and over again, and I was like, oh my gosh, we couldn't have planned this any better.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's being traded as this of materials. You know, like the guy that's going to hire him for that job, he lays down the Beskar, and he's like, holy cow! Compared to all this other stuff he's been offered, this he's like, I gotta have this.
Yeah, we gotta have banter.
Whatever the job is, I'll take it just to get this piece.
I'll take it just to get this piece. I'll do it just for this armor because this metal is so much better. So banter because we'd bantered a lot. Banter, Beskar,
that was it,
and Bantha Milk. Yes, that's what it was. And then good old Itty B couldn't say all that, and even like my other friends were like, wow, that's a long title there. So then we cut it down to just Bantha Milk Podcast.
I mean, in the long run, typing that to a YouTube search, the Bantha Best Milk.
Yeah.
It's like, do you want videos with best milk?
Yeah, exactly.
How you make the best milk?
How to make the best milk? Yeah. So it does.
What's a panther scar?
Panther scar. So. Yeah, so awesome. So let's break down this episode since we've been chatting away here for almost an hour already.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we didn't even know.
Content.
I know, content. There we go. So this episode starts, there's a beach scene training montage. It was almost like Rocky running on the beach, but it was all the Mandalorians doing all their different things.
I got to say, I was a little, like, really, guys?
So,
and then I also was like, boy, somebody had a sale on either some Wolverine boots or Red Wing is the sponsor of Mandalorian. Red Wing boots,
sponsored by Red Wing Boots. Yeah, everybody had on this.
Company has continued on into the future.
And galaxies far, far away.
That's
yes,
right.
They're all over the place. So.
I mean, did you see that? Because I was like, when they're climbing the mountain. Oh, I'm going too far ahead.
We're
starting off. I'm sorry.
We're at the very beginning here.
That's right.
So they're doing all their training. People are practicing with. I love any scene that has a flamethrower in it, and I love tracking all the flamethrowers. So there's
cool.
Two guys are flamethrowing each other. They're hitting each other with darts. They're trying to do practicing karate. They have
firing into the water. They got grapplers
firing into the water for no reason. It was like there's not even a target out there. They're just like, I can hit the lake. Watch, pew, got it.
Yeah. And didn't at one of the episodes before that, wasn't there a monster that came out of that water?
Yeah,
at some point?
that
so
same
we're just pissing that monster.
Right,
off.
they're like, we're just gonna keep shooting here. And,
didn't he attack and kill children before?
Yep, right at that spot.
Let's just keep messing with this thing.
Yeah, we'll just shoot into it here because it turned out so well the first time we did this.
Well, Rob, it is the way.
It is the way. This is the way. And then as that's going on, we see good old little Grogu. He's sitting there, and it looks like he's moving the little rocks around with the Force.
Man.
And then we realize he wasn't. It was just crabs walking around underneath him. Now, maybe he was pushing some of them around with the Force. I don't know. But Mando picks him up, and when Mando picks him up, all the crabs get up, and they start like running away. And then he has a duel. Grogu has a duel with Ragnar, which is the other Foundling, and that's the title of the show is the Foundling.
Right.
Which of course we're talking about two different Foundlings at the same time. We're talking about Ragnar, and we're talking about Grogu. So they have a little duel, and of course, Grogu looks so adorable in this. He's like looks up at Mando like, what? And what am I supposed to do? He's strapping on the little thing onto his little itty bitty arm, and he's like, go ahead, use this.
I feel for the actor playing Mando to have to strap this thing on this doll.
Yeah, make it look good.
He's basically playing dress up.
He's playing dress up with his toys, with his dolls.
Yeah.
So
and it's again, I'm like, come on, man. Is he gonna suddenly grow legs or
and like Grogu's been with him now for over 2 years. He couldn't find any other clothes other than this burlap bag that he's still wearing.
I mean, thank you. I agree. At some point, couldn't grow. I mean, listen, the Mandalorian's armor's changed.
Yeah.
Everybody else has got a costume upgrade. Grogu can't get a pair of pants.
A pair of pants. He's still walking around in this bag. Like, give him some pants already.
And he's in the sand.
In the sand, in the bag. You know how much sand is going to get trapped in the bottom of that bag when he picks them up?
It's already weighing him down. And when he does the flip, you don't see any sand flying.
You just see sand flying out from under. Yeah, there was no sand flying. It was a little disappointing.
Yeah,
so,
come on.
So they tell him, you got this dart game you're gonna play, and Grogu's like, all right. And so Ragnar hits him once, and Grogu's just like, oh, what am I supposed to do here? He hits him a second time, and then Mando says, use what you know how to do. Use your powers. I know you can do it. So then he goes, okay. So then they go, all right, fight. And he does his backflip up over him. And I thought he was going to land on the other side and then hit him over there. But then he just like, the kid is just like, wait, where'd he go? And then he backflips back to the same spot. And then he shoots him 3 times from there and he wins. And I'm like, why didn't Ragnar shoot him 3 times the first time? He could have won right away. Instead, he just gives him...
and in fact, didn't in the rules, when it was explained in the beginning, before they fought, that you could only shoot
I thought so too. Rules change.
I mean, I guess because it's the last. I mean, it was the third.
The third, yeah. You can
encounter, maybe because he had 3 left, so realistically.
So he could use all 3 of them on the last one. I don't know.
And wasn't it? I mean, isn't it? So I think the flip is a nod back to. I'm trying to remember back on Return of the Jedi. Didn't Luke do the double?
Yes, when he
flipped over and then came back.
Yes, I think he did.
I think that might have been a nod.
Yes.
I'm going to go back and watch Jedi and make sure that I'm accurate on that.
And also and then because also the Bo-Katan says, "Did you teach him that?" And he says, "I didn't teach him that." And it was like because he did train with Luke during when Book of Boba Fett was going on. He was training with Luke during that time, so. Luke could have taught him how to do some backflips and stuff.
Right.
And then the kid asks, why doesn't Grogu wear a helmet? And he says, because he can't speak yet, so he can't say this is the way. So since he can't talk, we can't put a helmet on him. But let's be honest, he's not wearing a helmet because he's too damn cute to put a helmet over top of him. You cover up those ears and that face, and then suddenly ratings are dropping.
I can't be the only one that wants to see the helmet get made, though.
Oh yes. Oh, I totally want to.
Are we gonna squish his ears down?
Are the ears gonna get squished in, or are they gonna stick out through the helmet?
Are they gonna stick a helmet?
Yeah.
Or is the helmet gonna have?
Is it gonna be like a hood that you put on your Chihuahua, where the ears pop out of it? Like that's what we got to see. Is
or maybe there'll be little capsules that open up and then the ears pop out.
Yeah, like all
retract.
All Beskar ear covering. Yeah, who knows? So I'm pretty excited about the future when we can see what type of a helmet he does get.
We do have 10 episodes to look forward to.
10 more seasons. That's right.
Seasons,
Yeah.
I mean, sorry. Yeah. So there is a possibility they're eventually gonna have to put a helmet on that kid.
Exactly.
Otherwise, or he runs and takes off and does the classic Luke Skywalker and goes, "You're not my father," and then bolts
out of there. Yeah. No. Yeah.
I mean, that's what all 60-year-old kids do.
That's what they do. That's what they all do.
You're not my dad.
I don't need to listen to you.
That's right. It happens.
That's what happens. So
it is the way.
It is the way. This is the way. Then, as that ends, what's his name? Ragnar gets all angry and upset, so he walks over to the water, and you're gonna think that the turtle lizard thing is gonna come out, but nope. Instead, giant bat dinosaurs come and snatch him up and take him, and then take him very, very far away, which this is what cracked me up. Like, and I get that jetpacks were made. They're made for, like, short bursts. They're not made for long-term travel.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But you're telling me from the place of this bird's nest to where they are, she followed him in this spaceship and was going for a long time. You're telling me that there is nothing else for this bird to find to feed its younglings other than these people miles and miles and miles away? I was like, all right.
Well, again, you're saying miles and miles and miles away. And the jetpacks, because in all the other episodes, there was plenty of fuel to fly up, to fly over, to fly under, to fly in,
to
fly back up,
and even the one when they killed the lizard,
the like octopusy, the thing that was being held in that ship, the octopi guys, which I was like, okay, in that episode, I'm like, really, we're gonna go. I mean, we're really doing the full Disney thing. We're gonna go ahead and bring Pirates of the Caribbean in.
yeah, because his face totally looked like that.
they totally stole.
And he kind of looked like
what episode was that on for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies where the dude with the octopus
the octopus beard. Yeah, I forget what his name was, but
I think it was one of the last
movies.
It felt
yeah,
very much like they stole it.
They just painted him green. They said, "All right, we're gonna do the same thing,
like,
but you're just gonna be green instead."
Hey, no, this is Star Wars.
This is completely different.
Brand new character.
yeah.
We're
so
looking for Sparrow to be running down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all zigzagging his way all the way down. But when she flies her ship following the bird into the sunset, it was this very similar scene from Apocalypse Now, when the helicopters are flying off into the sunset.
Mm-hmm. And I gotta say, it's really interesting in all that. I don't know if you noticed in the chase scene, which again was shot really cool. To try to make it look as real as possible, but the sunbursts.
Mm-hmm.
Again, as there's motion, I hate that I factored them over here, picking on stuff. Wouldn't the sunbursts be a little different?
Right,
they were
as
exact same sunbursts.
Yeah, the whole way through.
Exact same spot.
Yeah,
regardless of the angle.
Yeah,
as long as the sun was to the left. Anyway. That's really. I'm sorry, Favreau. You did a great job.
That's because you're an artiste. You pick up on these things.
I was just like, those are sunbursts.
Those are sunbursts.
Those are Photoshop.
They threw a couple extra layers of sunbursts on there.
I've used that.
Yes, I know that.
I use that for Chrome sometimes.
Yeah. You're like, let me use this sunburst effect here on the screen.
But it was still pretty cool. But
it was cool.
And I was a little, you were talking about the jetpacks, like as they're falling, and they're like, it felt very much like they didn't know how to use them. And I'm like, these guys are super trained. And then
like there should be a warning. They should have a warning on their arm or something that says running out of fuel. Like be ready to crash.
This other stuff, lights that come out of their helmets, all this other stuff, and nothing that gives a low fuel.
Fuel.
Even Iron Man's shitty first gen had some sort of thing for that, didn't it?
Yeah. It definitely when it was about to crash, he was like, "You're out of gas," and he's like, "Oh no!"
You're telling me that what was the name in Iron Man suit?
Jarvis was the
There was no Jarvis available
for the Mandalorians.
That didn't happen.
So then they decide that they have to go and save the kid, which this is what they were like sleeping. The bird was keeping the kid in his mouth overnight.
It didn't seem like they were too concerned how much time this kid had.
No, they're like, we'll get him.
It was like 2 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, because at one point they go back and then they're like sleeping at the bottom of the cliff, and she's like, "We'll sleep here tonight. We'll get him in the morning."
And this cliff covering will make sure that no light is seen by the bird.
Yeah, the bird can't see us at all.
I know this in all my bird training.
So she does talk about that a little bit. She does briefly say this is similar to what we did back on her other planet and blah blah blah. And they do try and
you're right.
They do try and tie it together there. For all the haters out there.
That's true. You're right. She
had
vast knowledge.
She had vast knowledge of bird-like creatures.
That's right.
So then, while they're gone, the armorer is now making a new piece of armor for Grogu. And as the thing is pounding down, it sets him off, and it brings back flashbacks for him from Order 66. And this was one of the previews. In the previews, we saw this scene in the previews. I said previews 5 times in 2 sentences.
Was it during the previews?
Yeah, I think it was during the previews.
Okay, I want to make sure.
And so we finally see, we see all the Jedi who are protecting him, during the previews, and as they're protecting him, they're all being killed by the 501st. And then there's this one Jedi that saves him and takes him out, and that was the one we talked about earlier. That was Jar Jar Binks. So they bring him back to save the day. So that was a very nice thing. But while that's going on, she's also talking to him and giving him some more Mandalorian lore and legend and history and stuff like that. So I do really like how much this season of Mandalorian history they are going into.
Yes, I agree with you.
And really giving us a lot. So I do like that. I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted. And this is what I was hoping like Boba Fett would do, but Book of Boba Fett didn't do any of this. But they're doing it all here in The Mandalorian. So that was really cool. And then she made him a a chest plate, which
It was a Flavor Flav clock.
it was a Flavor Flav clock that it was.
Yeah, boy.
It's called a rondel.
Oh.
And that as she's making it, they talk about they reserve some of the Mandalore, some of the Beskar for the Foundlings. So this is the first thing. This Flavor Flav clock is a rondel, and it was saved from the other Beskar, and now
Pieces of others, right? Yeah.
yeah, pieces of others, and now as he has this, he's now becoming Mandalorian as well. So, which is pretty cool because the Darksaber was made by Pre Vizsla, and he was a Jedi who then went to Mandalore and then became a Jedi Mandalorian, which is basically where Grogu was going. He's also turning into this Jedi Mandalorian. But considering we don't have 600 more years to watch him develop into this super Jedi Mandalorian, I doubt he's going to be the one to save the day and to save us because he's just a baby.
I gotta assume at some point they gotta start kicking up his development as far as
Yeah.
where they start going, okay, at the age of 55, 60, now the because again, based on the creature that they're pulling it from, which is Yoda, I mean, he's half the size of Yoda right now, realistically, right?
Right.
Half,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least half. So I mean, we really only got halfway more to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But they're making, because he's still, not speaking or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure his first words, we were joking, like, I thought his first words were going to be like, Dad. And I was telling Nick has a baby now. But I was like, I was really trying to make my son's first word to be the word steak because I wanted him to just be like steak. I thought that would have been really funny. So I was like, oh, maybe Grogu's first word then will be like frog or something because he loves eating frogs and stuff. But I'm pretty sure because they kind of hinted at it 2 episodes ago where he kind of mumbled something and it almost sounded like he mumbled, "This is the way." So I'm pretty sure at this point that his first words are going to be, "This is the way." What the heck? My cable keeps unplugging. Anywho, okay. So I don't know if we're gonna get it by the end of this season. Maybe next season we'll get his first words, but I'm thinking maybe like at the end of the season after they're triumphant again and against whoever they're battling against, he'll say, "This is the way," and then everybody will be like, "Oh my God, it's so cute! You're the greatest baby in the world."
The only thing I can hope when you're talking about where we're headed is this wasted episode with this scientist who has now been fried in the brain.
Yes.
That hopefully John's got a plan that this is where it's like the dark side starts to come back around because we've got some insane scientist,
right?
Who built these super soldiers basically.
Yeah.
But there's where we start kind of heading
right,
to.
and
there's our true enemy is starting to come back.
Right, and we're at episode 4. There's only 8 episodes this season, so we're halfway through the season, and we really haven't seen the antagonist, the bad guy, at all.
No.
So we know that
other than a pterodactyl,
and a alligator,
yeah. Which again that goes to the Mandalorian lore, so that's kind of cool.
Right, yeah. So that is pretty cool. So I'm thinking next episode we gotta first start seeing Moff Gideon again at some point because we need a bad guy to start. Like everything, like this episode
he's not dead, right? They didn't kill him.
They didn't kill him, and in the last episode they hinted at the fact that him getting brain fried was just a cover story. And the girl who was like, "Oh, let's go get all your cloning stuff," she stole it from him. So she's obviously going back and giving that to Moff Gideon.
Right.
So we know that he's out there and she has something to do with it. And that whole episode was just so that she can get the parts, like get the cloning stuff. Seems like a lot of wasted talent there.
Listen, I got to go back to this Moff Gideon guy. I appreciate the fact that you feel some dark energy from his character. but again, physically, I'm not buying it. He
Yeah.
seems like a really upset realtor,
Yeah.
or maybe a very mad banker,
A very mad banker.
somebody who's been really done wrong in the
That's like
stock market.
That's like the Marvel movies, the bad
Yeah,
guys in the Marvel movies. I'm
yeah,
always like, you're the big bad guy. Like you're just a
right.
grumpy
I
old
mean,
man.
we have to go with our ultimate of the bad guy. Darth Vader is a menacing
Yes.
character.
Yes.
I mean, he is menacing. He doesn't have to say a word. He's just got to
Mhm.
breathe, and you're like, oh my goodness. He emotes power,
Yes.
strength,
Yep.
evil, darkness. This guy made me go, I don't want to mess up on my taxes
Right.
because this guy's going to be really angry.
This guy's gonna
And then he's
gonna
going to
send
call
me
his
a
buddies
bill.
with their big
Yeah.
cannons, and he's going to threaten me. Get out of the bar because
Get
we
it-
don't like your kind.
Yeah, exactly.
So I there's a part of me that goes, okay, get some costuming going, bros, because we got to amp this guy's evilness up.
Yep. Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think, but again, he's got that look about him that could go south, get some
Right.
platforms maybe, and be a little taller.
Make him just a little bit taller. Darth
Like that
Vader
giant
was like,
Mando dude that they saved his kid. Turn that dude into the bad guy. I'd
Yeah.
be buying it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that
Well,
dude's mad.
And they, I mean, Paz Vizsla and Mando keep having this love-hate relationship, so it would be interesting if he did turn on the rest of the Mandalorians or whatever, but I think now that Mando helped save his son, they're going to be like best friends and whatever.
Besties, you think?
They're besties,
Although
yeah.
it really wasn't him that saved him. It was the girl.
It was.
Her planning.
Yeah.
Her
She
planning and
planned it
her-
all. That's why
her
she got
awesome-
to eat by the campfire because it was her
Right.
planning.
And she seemed very alone and like, this is not, I don't like this.
Yeah, she's like, I like talking to people, and I
I
don't
think
like
it's pretty amazing too that, when they pull the helmets off, she's got perfect hair.
perfect
every
hair.
time.
The hair doesn't move, and it's kind of like going back to your hot rod tie-in. The Smokey and the Bandit. When Burt Reynolds took his cowboy hat off, his hair was perfect underneath there.
Always perfect.
Always perfect
Always
underneath there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Always.
So only in real life when you take your hat off do bad things happen. But in the movies,
Well, the Mandalorian, when he pulls his helmet off, he looks a little sweaty.
he does look a little sweaty. He was a little sweaty under there.
Maybe not on purpose, but he looks a little sweaty. You're like, okay, I'm buying that this helmet is not necessarily, very
Air conditioned and very yeah.
Although it's gotta be.
There's
he's
gotta
wearing
be
a
gotta be
turtleneck thing.
yeah.
and-
Head
I
to
don't
toe armor. There's gotta be something going on in there.
Yeah.
One last thing when we have the
Sorry.
flashback, that's okay. When we have the flashback, Grogu, Kelleran fights off the rest of the people, and then he hops into a speeder bike that just so happens to have a sidecar on it, which is perfect because then you can put Baby Yoda's little incubator in there. And did you notice that the Baby Yoda in the flashback was much tinier and younger looking because it was like 40 years ago or whatever? So
Right.
he was even cuter than he normally is.
Right.
And then they fly around, and it was almost. And when Nick and I talk about it, I know he's going to have a lot to say about this. It was very close to the Vespa chase scene that was in Book of Boba Fett, so you didn't see it. In
I
Book.
thought you were gonna say it seemed very similar to Bruce Willis's movie.
Fifth Element, yeah. Yeah, because it was very lit up, just like the Fifth
It was
Element with
very
all the lights
Fifth
and everything.
Element,
Yes,
and I think what's the third Back to the Future
yes.
where Biff is now running the town.
Running the town because he kept the book. Yeah, a lot of future crazy big lights and everything all over the place.
It felt very much like that city.
Yeah. But in Book of Boba Fett, there was a chase scene, and they were on basically it looked like Vespa speeder bikes, but they looked like Vespas. This gang of kids all had brightly colored Vespas that had all these mirrors and lights and stuff all over. It was the slowest chase scene ever in television.
Now I gotta go watch.
Yeah, oh, you definitely have to watch it because you're gonna be like, oh my god. I think the only thing slower was the opening scene of Office Space when the guy's stuck in traffic and he's trying to drive to
No,
work.
I got slower. Bill Burr running from
Bill
one
Burr
point
running.
to the other point. Not very.
They're like, can you do it any?
Gun dude.
No, can you do it any faster, Bill? By any chance, can you go any faster?
It
This
was
is all I
super
got.
Slow too.
Yeah. Oh my god. And this was the same thing. This was super
Anyway,
slow.
sorry. I keep bringing that up.
And I know you love that scene. Until
I hope Bill Burr contacts me and talks shit because that would be great.
Right.
I love him.
Yeah, you'd be like, all right, Bill, I love you. I just thought you ran slow. That's all I have to say.
How awesome would I be if Bill Burr was like, what are you guys even saying? This is baloney. Right?
Right. That would be awesome. Yeah. So I'm gonna tag him.
I'm bringing controversy to
You
to the podcast.
You sure are.
Anyway,
talking about Marty McFly, when he was flying in that speeder bike, he goes into the train tunnel, and then he pulled a Marty McFly spin up.
Yes, I was waiting for that too.
Yep.
That was a little Men in Black.
Yeah, little Men in Black, a little Back to the Future. It was all thrown in there. Then they do the quick drive by of Monument Park where he flies through the mountain that the doctor couldn't touch last time. And then they get onto the Nabooian ship that looked like Padme's ship from episode 2 of the movies. Real fancy, looks just like it. It was the same type of a ship. I don't know if it was the same ship or not, but it was definitely the same exact model of her ship. And then even the guards looked a lot like the Nabooian guards from back in episode 2. So it was cool that they brought all that back.
Well, their uniforms were very much. Is that the guys that were working for Jabba the Hutt? Because they all had they had those things that kind of came down.
No,
the coloring of their costumes and even the way their helmets looked.
Yeah,
almost similar to the dudes that were working for that guy.
Yeah, kind of looked like that. But it was also, if you watch when Padme's guards.
I'll have to go back
in
check
episode 2, the movie number 2, they were very similar to that as well. And then we go back. Bo-Katan is now leading the hunting party, and she asks, "How do you guys eat?" And he explains that everybody just separates, and then you can take your helmet off. But as long as nobody can see you take your helmet off, it's okay. And then Paz Vista tells her that since she's the boss, she can sit by the fire. So it is interesting that she's
leading the war party.
She's leading the war party. She went from not believing in and hating the armorer's sect of religious outlook of the Mandalorian religion, basically, and being like, you guys are extremists. I'm not an extremist. And if you go back to the Clone Wars and the cartoons and stuff like that, she was with the more aggressive half of the Mandalorians, which this Child of the Watch might be a breakoff of her old plan, her old group. But I think when she was with her old group, or maybe she left her old group because she was never allowed to take her helmet off or whatever. But this is like a step down version of it, and then it's also a more extreme version of it. So she's really buying into it. So it'll be interesting to see if she's only buying into it so that she can take over, what she's going to do. She's the only one that has seen the mythosaur, and then she even asked the armor at the very end of it, like, I saw the mythosaur, and the armor's like, yeah, that's a cool vision to have. That means, and she's like, no, I literally saw the mythosaur, like I saw one. And she's like, oh, this is the way. So she's going to go back and tame the mythosaur and whatever. So see how much of a leader she becomes, if she allows everybody to take their helmets off again or not, or if she keeps her helmet on the whole time, even after she tames the mythosaur and becomes the ultimate leader of the Mandalorians.
It feels very much like what's happening is she's gaining, because again, like I agree with you that she definitely had this falling out of her belief system, things that were pushed on her, all those kinds of things, and now it seems as though with all these little ticks and things that are happening since she's met the Mandalorian, that she's kind of going, okay, I'm seeing the way is not so a negative thing. It's actually pretty honorable.
Yeah.
And she's being treated again pretty immediately with honor. and being accepted to where maybe before she felt kind of outcasted because she was like questioning it.
Yeah.
And now she's getting answers probably too.
Yeah. Yeah.
To things that she's wondered that she's only heard as myth.
Yeah.
Like for instance, she was the one that was like, "Oh, that's a myth about your planet, the planet. I'll take you there, whatever, or we'll go, or whatever." Or did it? How did she end up there? Was it Grogu?
Grogu came back to get her.
That's right.
Yeah.
But now that she's seen it, because even when she was reading the big placard, she was like, whatever.
Yeah.
But now that she's seeing that there's actually the living waters, she is seeing the Mythosaur. I think she's going, okay, maybe this is not all as much crap as I thought it was.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's pretty good writing.
Good job,
John.
Yeah, and it's also the whole season 3 is very religious based. There's a lot of religious overtones and stuff, and even very, very close. The one video that I watched, he talked to a theologist, and the guy said that this is almost identical to Judaism, and the Armorers Pact are the ones who are the ones that always wear yarmulkes and have the taluses and covering their heads, and are the extreme ones who only eat what's
leaven,
the word? Leaven, and
kosher
food, and are only eating kosher, and the very hardcore Judaism beliefs and stuff like that, and that's where the armor is. They're the very hardcore Mandalorian beliefs. So it is really cool how much he is tying into different religious beliefs and how similar it is to, if you dig deep into, not even dig deep, but if you know anything about the Judaism religion, it's very similar to that. And
then you do the overtone of the Force itself.
Yeah.
As the ultimate.
I
mean, you can go through all these different. Now I'm gonna go religion instead of political.
Right.
That there's all these overtones that the Force is the ultimate of it. It is through all, in all type stuff.
Yeah.
That you don't necessarily have to be Jedi to have the Force.
Right. And there are people who are Force sensitive who are not Jedi. So that could be, you could.
Yeah, they're the called. They're the ones that have been, where it's this thing it's this power, this energy that lives in every person. It's just a matter of tapping into it and understanding.
Yeah.
And that is so religion versus faith.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
100%. I can tell you that just on my own personal walk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because you're a very religious person, so you understand.
I'm actually I don't mean to correct you. I'm not a religious person.
Okay.
I'm actually I have a strong faith.
Okay.
I don't believe in religion.
Okay. Well, I'm
not a religious guy.
Okay, I take that back. I apologize.
No, it's good because there is
there's a difference.
It's an interesting dichotomy, and it's so cool that what you just said, the Mandalorian is so this ultimate, where it's these rules and traditions and things, this lore.
Yeah.
And she comes from the side where she was like, I don't know if I really believe in all that stuff, and now she's learning about it.
Yeah.
And the learning is the best part, is the understanding of all of it.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%.
Ultimately, the understanding of the Force.
Yes, and like you said, back in college, I dated a girl. She was very, I'm gonna say very religious.
Probably religious.
Yeah. So I even went to church with her, and her church. Growing up, I went to church, but my church was a very traditional church. We had the chorus and the minister and stuff like that, or the choir, I should say. But it was just hymns. You do your hymns. The minister gives his thing and blah blah blah, and then the choir sings, and then that's it. You go home. And I went to her church, and they had the rock band and this and that, and it was really, and it was the first time that I really even listened to the minister's sermon, and I was like, wow, this is it. I'm supposed to be here today, and I was I really got sucked into it, and I was like, okay, so. And this is the same thing with the Mandalorian religion, the Mandalorian faith and whatever. Bo-Katan was a part of it because she talked about, I bathed in the living waters, and my dad was very proud of me, and blah blah blah. And now she's like, I'm taking my helmet off and whatever. Now she's back with the armor, and she's like, okay, well, how do I eat with my helmet on? Tell me everything about your ways. Tell me all about it. So it is very interesting.
The purity that's happening with her, where she's and again, imagine being in that huge castle in her and on her planet or whatever, and there's nobody there, and she's like, there's all this tradition and
Yeah.
lore, my whole family and everything, and I have all these things, but I have no understanding of what it all really truly means. I
Right.
just only heard what people have told me. I don't really know anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's neat that you see this in this last episode where there's some curiosity where she's going, okay, I'll listen. At
Yeah.
least let me take it in.
And
So we'll see. It's interesting.
it is interesting. And even like last episode when they blew up her castle and they blew up everything that she had, she's
Yeah.
kind of the same thing, as the Judaism where they were kicked out. They were, their
were
homeland
destroyed.
was destroyed, so they had to
Yep.
separate. So she had to separate. She had to find other people of her type
Yep.
and whatever. So yeah, so it is.
Yeah, and even think about the different sects of that faith.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's, like you said, there's the folks that are, I won't call them extreme, but they're very traditional
Yeah.
in their ways.
Uh-huh.
And then there has been so many different variations as you get into different generations that go, I don't know if I want to do all that.
Yeah.
Religion is experiencing the same thing in where you have Catholicism working down into, that's where you have Baptists and
Yeah.
Third Baptists and 15th day evangelists, all those kinds of things, because there's all these people that go, I don't know if I want to do all these rules.
Right. I don't like all these rules, but I like
Right.
this. So and
that's the crazy thing. You go back, then you look at all that, and then you take the Force itself, which is what is the main thing of the Force, is that one that you even have to believe it's there,
right. Yeah.
that's available at all,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then it controls that it not controls everything, but it is available to anybody who wants to seek it out and understand what it is and harness the power of it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it has a lot of religious overtones and
for
undertones
sure,
and
for
stuff
sure.
like that.
It's
So
crazy. A lot
it
of
is
stuff
really
it does,
yeah.
though.
Yeah.
We're all searching for answers to many things. What's the purpose of life? All those kind of things. Grogu's going to go through the same stuff.
He
Why
will.
am I a little cute little green thing that's going to get really old and weird with a guy and his hands in my rear, and I don't know why he's
And
doing
I don't know why he's doing this. Why is his hand up there? What is going on?
Why do I keep talking so weird?
Why do I talk backwards? What is going on here? So almost at the end of the episode, so then they decide that they're gonna save the kid, and they're climbing up the wall like Batman in the old Batman TV
I'm
show.
so glad you said that, because exactly when they were coming towards us, I was like, this is so old 60s Batman. I was waiting for gosh, who would have popped out at the time?
Like the Joker.
Well, no, there were different movie actors at the time back in the 60s that would, like a Lucille Ball would pop out of one of the windows and go, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
I was waiting for something like that to happen. And again, that's where I saw the fact that the Red Wing shoes or Wolverines still in existence in business.
Yeah, there
So
you
you
go.
might want
Because
to buy
they're
stock now in those two companies, because they end up in the future.
they're in the future. So buy their stock and hold on to it, because it's going to
That's
last a
right.
long time.
It may be worth more than Beskar.
It could be. You could buy you some Beskar with all the
That's
stock
right,
money.
For sure.
So
Trading shoes,
that's
hiking
right.
boots.
So then they grapple all the way to the top, and they see, just as they get there, the Bat Mama spits out the kid. Which, by the way, did you notice she spits out the kid? He's not wet at all.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
apparently
people.
those dinosaurs have no saliva.
No saliva. People coming out of the ocean and their hair's perfectly dry. It's like, wait, what happened? Yeah, so this dinosaur has absolutely no saliva. This kid's been in her stomach or her mouth or whatever for 2 days now.
Well,
And-
we're assuming, we don't know if realistically she flew to the nest, because the babies were buried. So maybe he's off to the side. Why wouldn't he escape?
Why
Maybe
wouldn't
he's
he- yeah,
scared too.
yeah.
Maybe she's sleeping with him and stuck in her talons.
Maybe she's just holding him the
That's
whole
all
time
I'm thinking, is then she flew away to throw him in her mouth so she could come back to baby bird.
to feed it to baby birds. Yeah, and then of course Mando uses his fancy helmet to see that there's a heat source in there, and
And
Paz.
no one else had that.
No,
app
he's the only one that
available?
has it. He only has that app. They don't have the update to
Oh,
iOS
that's what it
helmet 14.1.
Oh,
yeah, it
that
doesn't.
sucks.
Yeah,
Listen, I experienced that trying to get on this podcast.
you
I was
did.
like,
You couldn't get the camera
waiting
to
for my
work.
computer to boot up. Camera not working. Camera not available.
Camera not available. So
Maybe
then
that happened to the Mandalorians. They had the same problem.
they had the same
They got a
problem.
reboot.
So then Paz was like, I'm going to go get him. And they're like, wait. And I knew right away, like, that's not the kid. So he
Yeah.
rips
Well, there's
rips it
three
open.
sources.
Yeah, he rips it open. And then there's 3 baby bat dinosaurs there. And they're ready to eat Paz Vizsla. Then the mom comes. And then there's a big fight. And the kid goes falling in all the way down. And luckily, somebody's jetpack still works and goes down. They save him. The mom's going down. She's going to eat the baby. No, I have to feed my babies. And just as they do that, from miles and miles away, the lizard turtle jumps out of the ocean and eats the bat mama. And that's the end of that. And as soon as that happened, I said to myself, what are they going to do with the babies? I'm like, what? I'm like, you made a point to show that there were 3 babies there, and then you killed the mom, and I'm like, we're just going to leave the babies there? I was like, oh, no, don't tell me that's what we're going to do. But no, luckily they didn't. They shoved all of the Mandalorians and the 3 babies into the spaceship, and they flew them all home.
Yeah, it wasn't traumatizing enough for that poor kid to be taken away by a giant lizard, flown millions of miles away while people were shooting lasers at it, then spend 2 days either in its nest or in its gullet, to only be saved, to almost be fed to these little birds.
Right.
Then to be shoved in a spaceship with barely enough room, and then packed in with 3 of these killing machines again.
And again,
go,
yes.
This is going to work out fine.
This will be fine. Yes, this is Disney. Everything will be A-okay. So then at the end, they come all home and they go, oh, we got 3 new Padawan, or not Padawans, 3 new, what did they call them? Foundlings for you. And then here's the 3 different Foundlings. And they're like, okay. But it's cool because the original Mandalorian lore was that the first Mandalore tamed the Mythosaur. In Boba Fett and Book of Boba Fett, he tamed a Rancor baby and was riding around on a Rancor, which was the thing underneath Jabba's palace. So obviously Mandalorians are good with animals. So they're going to tame these baby bats that are going to grow up, and then they're going to fly them all around this planet, and who knows what other planet they're going to fly them around on.
Well, then they'll eventually turn blue.
Right.
And everybody will be blue.
And everyone...
it'll be called Avatar.
And it'll be Avatar. That's right. And then at the very
strip
end...
off their Mandalorian gear,
and they'll
get
be
naked.
And they'll grow 4 feet. They'll all be 9 feet tall, and they'll be blue. And they'll have extra hair things in their back that they can patch into the animals. Yep.
That's right.
And then the very, very end, Bo-Katan, we talk about her briefly. She says the armorer builds her a new shoulder piece because just the shoulder piece got knocked off by the bird. So she builds her a new shoulder piece, and she asked, can I wear 2 different insignias on 2 different shoulders? And she said, yeah, sure. And she goes, I want one of the Mythosaur. And she goes, well, we're all part of the Mythosaur. And we get a little bit more backstory, which is really cool. And then she goes, yeah, I saw the Mythosaur. And that's when the armor goes, that's cool. You saw her in a vision. She said, no, I saw her for real. So then that's foreshadowing to her going back and getting the Mythosaur and then coming back as the Mythosaur rider. And who knows where she goes with this. We have 4 episodes.
She'll get some new armor that's not from Amazon, because now that the Mandalorian armor person's made this really badass.
Yeah, the silver one
looks like stickers.
Yeah.
Like it was not a really good wrap job.
Yeah.
It's all 2-dimensional. This is all 3D.
Yeah.
Hammered in, badass, chromy looking stuff.
And then just a sticker of the owl on the other side.
Right, and her helmet needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
Man, it's looking whole. Yeah, so hopefully she'll get something back.
It would be cool if when she comes back with the Mythosaur, if she does get all new armor as like the new Mandalore, which would be pretty neat. So hopefully she does get that. That would be pretty cool if she does. Maybe she finds more Beskar while she's on Mandalore and says, "Make me a whole new suit."
Expect that they're gonna head back to that home planet. They couldn't have. They couldn't
Yeah.
have gone there, and then they're just going to leave that whole situation, and we're
No,
not going to
no,
visit back there. They got to make it back there.
she's definitely going back there, and I have a feeling also like when they were leaving and all the TIE fighters were attacking them, that maybe that's actually where Moff Gideon is hiding right now, is he's hiding there also, so it'll make it easy for them to have a big Mandalorian Moff Gideon battle.
That's possible. I'm not going to say that the underwater portions of that didn't also have a little bit of water world.
Yeah, there was a little water world to it. And it was also
Where the
strange.
city's underneath the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
I was like,
strange
this is a little water worldy.
how far down he fell, how quickly he fell. That
armor's pretty heavy.
Armor is pretty heavy, yeah. So I don't know, but anywho, all right. So that is our rundown. This is a supersized episode tonight.
Hey, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Did they recharge the jetpacks?
Yes, they had to. Yeah, when they went back in the cave, they have extra fuel in the cave, and they just
And what exactly are the jetpacks run on?
Legend and
I'm just curious because I'm like, and they got the where they're doing all the metal work there, which is pretty clear. The forge.
Yeah, the forge.
So clearly, there's a butane or a natural gas
somewhere. Yeah, in the forge, she has 12 propane tanks underneath the forge.
I gotta assume that maybe they're splicing off to fill the jetpacks.
The jetpacks, yeah, that's what they refill them with. They actually use race fuels, so they fill it up in the dark because they don't want it to get anywhere near the sunlight.
Mandalorian brought to you by Speedway.
Speedway Raceway. We're coming at you on Sunday. So, yeah. Oh, I lost you on that.
NASCAR and Beskar.
NASCAR and Beskar. Yeehaw. We're going to watch it.
Boys, we're going after the three-legged tauntaun.
So, Johnny, it's been a pleasure having you on the show tonight.
So much, man.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was definitely a blast.
Mandalorian and talking crap about it. I got to say again, I really love the show. It's been really fun to watch. It's a great story. It's been very intriguing. There's been parts where I'm just like, oh man, I got to see what happens next. So I have hopes that it's not going to go south, and it's going to continue to be really, really good.
Yep.
I'm going to definitely have to check out Boba Fett, although it sounds like it's going to be a bummer to maybe a little disappointing. But
yeah, you got to fight through it. It's definitely lower in comparison to Mandalorian. There are some good episodes. It is slow building, but like I think it was only 8 episodes long. Like episode 6 was all about the Mandalorian, so that was like a really good. We're like, yeah, the best episode of Boba Fett was all about the Mandalorian. So it was interesting, but
yeah, I think it's like you said earlier in the pod where it was. They kind of put themselves in that catch-22 where the Mandalorian really took off, and Boba Fett's story was like, well, I mean, we're kind of already sort of telling it, but we can't kill this character off.
Yeah, yeah.
The fans who know who Boba Fett are know he's from the Mandalorian. He is a Mandalorian in some way and in shape and form, and so we got to figure out how to tell this story too. But how do we make it as good, not better?
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's a lot of money vested in the Mandalorian before there was Boba Fett. So.
Yep.
You can't kill one franchise for the other.
Nope. And there's something else I wanted to just tell you. I don't remember now. Doesn't matter. Whatever. This is great content. Rob thinks for the next 10 minutes. So yeah. So whatever. Oh, that's what it was. We've been rating alphabet rating A, B, C, D, whatever. All the episodes. Last week's episode, Nick and I gave a C+ to. I would give this one a very high B. There was some like cheesiness to it. I wouldn't put it all the way up into an A. It did have a lot of good moments, but I would probably give it like a B+. What about you? What do you think you would give it? Even though
I definitely would probably in the I feel what you're saying. Definitely. Although if I was going to give the last episode before this, I probably would have gave that a D for Doctor Who Goes Bad. And this I probably would have gave like a super C+.
Okay.
As in, can we do a little more Mandalorian stuff and less of the fighting around baloney? And let's get back to the cool stories we had going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a high C into the B.
Yeah, because this
but I
one.
guess my expectations, because there's so many good episodes where I was like, man, that was really good.
Yeah.
Can't wait for next week's. So I know the potential, but again, I have to then I have to step back as someone who is a creative person too and go, not every single thing you put out because you're trying to make a great episode.
Right.
Doing this podcast,
Yeah.
every episode's not going to be the most amazing podcast ever. You try your best to make it that way, but there's always something that happens that maybe makes it a little lackluster.
Yeah.
They're trying to tell a full-blown story that has arcs and comebacks and loops around, so it's not easy to do that.
No.
So it's hard. I feel bad almost kind of talking a little crap about it because it's not an easy hurdle to do as a writing person,
Right.
much less someone who's producing or whatever. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It is tough. It was good. There are some cheesy moments to it. But it was, and it didn't really progress the story along too much either. The only thing it did is it maybe got Paz Vizsla and Mando closer, that they're not, complete arch enemies. They're like, all right, maybe we can get along. And it did advance it a little bit with Bo-Katan's story. She's now buying a little bit more into this armor way of Mandalorian thought, and also she's now told somebody that she has seen the mythosaur, because she didn't tell Mando at the beginning of the episode or whatever. She was like, did you see anything? He's like, no, I was unconscious. I didn't see anything. And she's like, okay, never mind. So
I really hope, not to cut you off, I apologize for cutting
that's
you off.
okay.
I really hope so. I hope this doesn't happen, because this kind of happens to a lot of these. Some of my favorite films that end up doing multiple episodes or seasons, or 1, 2s, 3s.
Right.
We don't
Yeah.
What, I don't
Sequels.
even remember what we called them.
Sequels.
There
Yes.
we go. Wow, it's been so long since we did sequels. But anyways, like you take a Batman, where it felt very much like the first couple were focused on Batman, right?
Right.
And then we started focusing on all the villains,
Mm-hmm.
which is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Villains have their own thing and can tell their own story.
Yeah.
But when it's called the Mandalorian, I'm really hoping that the story doesn't keep falling to tell other portions of stories.
Yeah.
When
like the Mandalorian doesn't become the B story.
Listen, I love that. Creed's in it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really care whether I see him or hear about him again.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Like
I just want to see Mandalorian kicking some ass.
Right.
Just like Rocky. I just wanted to see Rocky beat up on whoever he's got to beat up and win and do the thing. And
I don't need more about Uncle Paulie. I care less.
I don't care about Paulie and what happens to Paulie. And there's a spinoff on Paulie. Fine.
Yeah.
We'll do a spinoff.
Believe it over there. You want to do a spinoff with Grief Karga, which was, Apollo Creed, then fine. But let him come in. He says a couple things and we move on. Like I don't need him in it a lot more. I want Mandalorian to be the A story arc. Bo-Katan can be the B story arc, but keep Mandalorian as the A story arc.
Like if you go back and you look at those, was it Empire where we went back to Lando's place?
Yeah.
Lando's a cool dude. But there were some moments where I'm like, we're spending a little too much time in Cloud City. Let's get to the cool stuff.
Right.
I want to see some battles.
Yeah.
And some lasers.
I want to see some laser guns. Yeah.
I want to see dog fights and all. That's the stuff I care about.
Right. That's the fun stuff. Exactly.
Yeah. But I get it. You got to have, there's arcs and moves.
Sure. Yep. So, well, we'll see where this goes. We have 4 episodes left, so hopefully we'll get a big, good arc at the end there and have some nice story there at the end. Yeah. So, from all of us, Nick was a little under the weather. He couldn't come on, but hopefully we'll get Nick's take on it sometime this weekend. Johnny Jalopy from JohnnyJalopy.com, and also
hopefully that was a good fill-in.
You were a great fill-in. Sketchy Live over there on Monday nights on YouTube and or Facebook. Follow him on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. This is the end of the episode, so Nick always says it first, but I'll say it first, and then you can repeat it after me. We have spoken.
We have spoken.
There you go. You got it. Look at that. You're a professional. All right.